So hello YouTube, I hope everyone is doing fantastic. It's Califax here and we're back with another market outlook series. I just hope you guys really had a great month of August. I mean, for me personally, it was a very good month. Just, keeping the consistency month after month, week after week. So we just entered the month of September, and this actually marks the beginning of one of the busiest season in trading, right? So we just into the last quarter of the year. So I really hope you guys smash this quarter. So let's just not take too much time, and let's just jump right into it. So when it comes to Euro USD, we can start from the monthly time frame. We can clearly see that looking from the monthly, Euro USD is still relative bearish, and price just came to this supply zone. And if we use the Fibonacci from this previous low all the way to previous high, we can clearly see that price just went above 50% of the range. So usually when price comes to above 50% of a bearish range, that's what we consider a premium level zone for sale. So anything around this zone, if we see a supply zone, most likely we're going to have some sort of reaction right here. So we can clearly see that Euro USD came into this zone. This is actually a very good supply zone, which was the decisional that finally took out this previous low. So we know that the move started up, at the top, but if we look up, we don't have clear imbalances, right? Basically, the price action above is efficient, and we just had let's buy before the sell that went on to take this previous structure low. So once price comes to the monthly supply zone, we can drop down to the daily time frame and we can study the structure, especially as an intraday trader. So if we look at the daily, the structure is still bullish right here. So for me, in order to sell all the way down, especially sell on a long-term basis, I would need to first have a daily change of character to the downside. So up to this point, we don't have the daily change of character. So the structure is still bullish. So even if I use the daily, the two days time frame, we can clearly see that we have this order block right here, very clean order block, and we can see that the candle that followed, it had a huge momentum to the upside. So it wasn't particularly filled because we still have imbalance sitting below. So that's why I actually marked this point of interest. I'm still expecting to see some reaction all the way down, right? So I want price to come into this daily demand zone, and then that's what we're going to drop down to the 4 hour and look for 4 hour change of character to the upside. So if I come to 4 hour, so we can clearly see what happened just recently is, I remember I had sent this outlook on the free Telegram group. Price was still here, so we can clearly see the price ended up violating a little bit the order block, but it didn't close above. So usually when it doesn't close above, that shows that at this particular point the buyers were losing strength. So this was the bullish sentiment in the market in depletion, and then sellers stepping into the market. So what happened is that we had this break of structure right here of this low, then price came back, and if I come to just 1 hour time frame, we can see something quite interesting, is that at this point we had this reaction right here at this demand zone, because this demand was responsible for breaking this previous structure high right here. So price came, it pulled back, we can see swept liquidity, then broke structure, and we can see that we had a demand to supply flip at this particular moment. Price came back and started to push all the way down. So it ended up breaking this previous structure low right here. So we can see that this right here was the break of structure to the downside. So we can clearly see that on the 4 hour, we're very bearish, and we can use this supply zone right here. This is a supply zone that broke this previous structure low. Now I will expect to see price pulling back all the way up, but for that I would need to see an M15 change of character to the upside. So that would tell me that okay, 4 hours is ready to have a pullback towards this supply zone. But because it's very close to the daily, I'm expecting to see price coming all the way down to this daily. But then I will also need to have a 4 hour change of character to the upside so I can be bullish long term. So that's simple. Right here on Euro USD. Let's move to the next pair. So Aussie dollar, we can start just from the weekly time frame, And I mean, the weekly time frame price action is just absolutely beautiful right here. We can clearly see we had a break of structure to the downside. We had a pull back, second break, price came all the way up, used this previous high as inducement, and we can see now price shifting the order flow from bullish to bearish right here within this weekly range, right? So we just had this break of structure right here, price closed below the previous structure low. So let's drop down to the daily time frame to see what's going on. So we can even use the 4 hour. I think it's much cleaner. And if we look at the 4 hour, the price action is also bearish right here. We can see that price broke structure right here, came back, swept liquidity, reacted at the supply zone, then it pushed all the way down. So now, if we look at what's going on here, is that we had this wick right here, which was higher than the previous one. So that means that this was a liquidity sweep candle, right? Before price went all the way down to break this previous structure low. That's why price went all the way up, started using this previous highs as inducement. And now we're seeing this huge V-shaped recovery right here, which is aggressive in and out. So we're expecting to see Aussie dollar continue to move all the way down, breaking this previous structure low onto the weekly previous structure low, right? So if I drop down, for example, quickly to 1 hour, we can see that we had a nice break of structure. So we can say that this right here was the previous structure low. It was broken right here with a body. So that's what we like to see. We want to see body closure. And if we look at what's going on here, is that price, before this failed attempt to close below, price came back up to grab liquidity above this previous structure high, which is an internal structure. And now we're expecting to see price come somewhere into this supply zone. So I can refine the point of interest if we drop down to M30 time frame. I believe, right, we can use this point of interest right here. So this is what I will see. What I want to see is that we had this price came all the way up, grabbed this previous structure high, liquidity, and then pushed all the way down, closing below this 1 hour previous structure low. So I'm still expecting to see price come all the way up. So that's what I want to see, price come all the way up, because this is actually, we're referring to the M30 supply zone. You guys, once price reaches this supply zone, you guys can drop down to M1 or M3 time frame and look for the change of character and sell all the way down, right? So that way you'll be able to take the lower time frame trade in alignment with what the medium time frame is saying, or even high time frame, because everything is bearish. We wait for price to come back to that supply, and we also want to be bearish on the lower time frame. So that's just simple right here on Aussie dollar. Let's move to the next pair. So GU, let's just quickly go into the monthly time frame. And what we can see is that the structure is absolutely bearish. We had this break of structure, mitigation, second break of structure. Price now just arrived into this supply zone. And if we quickly just look at the Fibonacci from this previous structure low, I really recommend using the Fib just to mark the premium and discount zones, right? So in this scenario, we can see the price went above 50%. It's around 61.8, which is a very, very golden zone to sell from. So this is just around the premium level zone for sales. Price came into this supply zone. So let's drop down to the daily time frame. So if we look at the daily, the structure on GU, I mean, I will say that we just had a daily change of character, right? Because we had this previous structure high, then this low, and then this low caused the break of this previous structure high all the way up. So we can clearly say that this right here was the break of structure, was the change of character on the daily time frame. So price just came into a monthly supply zone. What happened with the daily? Daily just gave us a daily change of character. So we can clearly see that this is exactly what we wanted to see first. Once price comes into a high time frame supply, let's say in this scenario it was the monthly, weekly, we come to the daily, we want to have the daily change of character. So price just gave us the daily change of character right here. We come down to 4 hour time frame, we can clearly see that this supply zone right here I sent on the free Telegram group as well. So I mean, if you guys took the trade, fair play. So we can clearly see that the structure on the 4 hour is absolutely bearish. The daily just gave us a change of character. So what do we want to do next? We want to look for sales. So if we look just closely right here, is that we had this demand zone, price made this high, then this low, and then this high. So we can say that, okay, this right here was a demand zone. Price, what happened? Price reacted, right? We had a reaction at demand zone, it pulled back, grabbed some liquidity, and then broke structure right here. I believe this was when NFP kicked in to the downside. So we can clearly see that this right here was the break of structure. And we can say that, okay, this was the demand to supply flip. So we're expecting to see price coming all the way up into this 4-hour supply zone. So we can look for sales right here. So once price came into the demand, we can see that we had some reaction. Let me just quickly go down to M1 1 hour time frame, and we can clearly see that this was the structure that it grabbed. It grabbed this previous structure high, and we can see this nice V-shaped recovery all the way down. So I'm expecting to see price pulling back all the way to this 4-hour supply zone. Once price comes to my 4-hour, you guys already know I like to wait for M15 change of character right here. Now we can refine this point of interest probably to M30, right? So let me just quickly go to M30 time frame, and we can use this M30 zone right here. So if price comes here, we can drop down to M3 time frame. So in this scenario, there is no problem. Once price comes up to this supply zone, we can drop down to M3 time frame and look for change of character, and then we sell all the way down. So the good thing right here is that we went from the monthly is bearish, then the daily gave us a change of character, and 4-hour is absolutely bearish. So that's what we want to do. We want to follow the higher time frame order flow. If everything is bearish, we want to follow it as well. So that's it for GU. Let's move to the next pair. So New Zealand dollar, similarly to Aussie dollar, the structure is, let's just quickly look at the weekly, and we can clearly see that the structure overall is bearish all the way down. And let me just quickly go up into the monthly time frame. And so if you guys look at the monthly, we can see that we had this break of structure, mitigation, second break, and then mitigation into the highest point right here at this supply zone, and we see all this push to the downside. So what we're expecting is price to come all the way down to grab this monthly structure low. So if I drop down to the weekly, which is the price action that is happening within that monthly structure, is we can clearly see that we had a break, pulled back, a second break, then price came all the way up into this supply zone, and we can see the bearish order flow forming all the way down. So we want price to come all the way down as well to grab this previous structure weekly previous low as well as the monthly low. So this is how you establish your directional bias from the higher time frame. So let's just quickly drop down to the 4-hour time frame. So if we look at the 4-hour, something interesting is happening right here, is that we can see this huge, this very, very, very clean order flow. Let me just push price. Oh, what's going on? Okay, right here we have the 4-hour. So we can clearly see this beautiful order flow right here on the 4-hour. We had a break, mitigation, second break of structure, and we can see there are a ton of imbalances that was left right here above. So my expectation, what I'm expecting to see, is price just gave us this nice change of character to the upside right here. And let me just go drop down to 1 hour, and we can refine this demand zone to this one right here. So this is the demand zone that I'm expecting price to come to before we go all the way up into that supply zone and we continue the bearish order flow. And we can clearly see that price had swept liquidity right here, which is what I like to see. Let me just say this was the sweep down. So price came all the way down, grabbed liquidity, and pushed all the way to the upside. So we can see that the move started right here, all the way up to break this previous structure high. So we have a ton of imbalances right here. So what I'm expecting is to see price come all the way down into this demand zone. We can drop down to M15 time frame. For those people that want to trade, don't want to go to lower time frame, you can just wait for a M15 or 5-minute change of character once price comes into the demand zone, and you can buy all the way into this supply zone, and then we continue to move to the downside. Oh, and we can refine. I mean, I would recommend to keep this point of interest as well as this one right here. This is just the refinement. Right here, we have this previous structure low, which most likely will be used as inducement. So we have this low, price grabs the low, comes into demand and pushes aggressively to the upside. That's what I'm expecting. So once price comes into this supply, this demand zone, this very refined demand zone, I will drop down to M3 and look for the confirmations all the way up, right? So if we quickly come back to 4 hour, that's basically what we want to see. Price coming to the demand zone, we buy all the way up into this supply, and then we continue the bearish order flow that we've started from the monthly all the way to the weekly and 4 hour, right? So that's just simply, it's simple right here on New Zealand dollar. Let's move to the next pair. So UJ, let's just quickly drop down to the weekly time frame, and we can clearly see that the structure, the intention is bullish. But we can't just confirm at all that everything will be bullish, all the way up. That's what we expect, right? Because price had broken structure to the upside, it pulled back, broke structure again, used this previous structure low as inducement, came into the demand, and we're starting to see that push all the way to the upside. So our next, actually first expectation is to see price continue all the way up. But we can't ignore that this can be also the first sign of bearish intention. We have this weekly change of character to the downside. Price can react to this supply zone, and we see price continue all the way down, right? So that is something that is very possible. That's why we want to monitor the reactions. So price just came into this very significant weekly supply zone, which was responsible for taking out this previous structure low right here. So very, very, very important. So price comes into that weekly. Let's drop down to the daily time frame, and we can see that we had the break of this previous structure high, and the decisional low was this one right here. So price had pulled back, broke structure, left imbalance. We can use this point of interest right here, or we can just keep the black one, which was the last down candle before the up move. So price came into this zone. What I would like to see, especially as an intraday trader, I would like to sell all the way down to this demand, right? Because the daily is still bullish. So what I would like to see is 4 hour gives me a change of character, or the hourly time frame gives me a change of character to the downside. That can be a sign that, okay, daily is ready to do a pullback, most likely into this demand zone. So let's just quickly drop down to 4 hour. So if we look at what's going on the 4 hour, let me just use the 2 hour. I believe it's much cleaner. Yeah, perfect. So we have this structure low right here. So this was the break of structure right here. So we have a very, very, very clean break of structure. And the reason why I marked this low is because this low was the decisional low that was responsible for finally taking out this previous structure high right here, right? So it's very, very significant low. And price, we can see that price had pulled back, grabbed this previous minor structure high, and then pushed all the way down. So what I'm expecting is to see price coming all the way into this supply zone. This is the hourly supply zone. So once price comes into this supply zone, we can wait for M15 change of character. We can take the trade from the M15, but what I will wait for is M15 change of character. Then I will drop down to lower time frames such as M3, M1, look for my change of character, my confirmation entry, and then take the trade. So right here, price comes into this weekly to daily supply zone. Now price just gave us a very nice 4 hour change of character. We have a very refined 2 hour supply. So we wait for price to come all the way up. We wait for M15 change of character, and then we can take the sell all the way down into this daily demand zone, right? So this is the importance of doing, establishing your directional bias and doing a top-down analysis, because the lower time frame trades are going to have meaning, right? And they're also in alignment with the high time frame. That's what makes the setups more high probability, right? So that's it for UJ. Let's move on to the last pair. So our last pair of today is going to be gold. I believe that's the usual. The last pair that we always finish the outlook with. So if we look at what's going on just quickly from the weekly, is that price had broken structure to the upside, and it started to build, I mean, this huge pool of liquidity. Then price came aggressively into this supply zone and pushed to the upside. So we had a change of character here. So what happened is that when price gave this change of character, it didn't pull back all the way down to what was responsible for it, which is this order block sitting below. And if we look down, we have a ton of imbalances sitting below. So when we have imbalances and this huge momentum, this is what validates this order block. And I mean, this is what makes us look at this order block as very valid point of reaction. So price is most likely price can come all the way, react into this demand zone, and then pull back to this one, and then we have the push to the upside. But first, we want to monitor the first zone of possible reaction, which is this demand zone that also caused the break of structure of this a break of structure to the upside. So once we have this daily, weekly demand zone, we drop down to the daily time frame. So the daily, we want to see structure bearish because that will tell us that the weekly is doing a pullback towards its demand zone. So on the daily, we can clearly see right here that the structure is absolutely bearish. Price just tapped into this supply zone right here. So if you look at it, that's the daily supply zone. So we can drop down to the 4 hour, right? Once price comes to my 4 hour, I mean to my daily supply zone, I like to drop down to the hourly and look for the change of character. So we can see up to this point, let me just use the 1 hour time frame. Right here, we can see that price gave us a change of character right here, because this was the decisional low before it broke this previous structure high. But one thing that is very important is that price went up, and then we had this aggressive in and out, which is, some people call it V-shaped recovery, right? But this aggressive in and out shows that the bullish sentiment lost strength right here to the bears. So that's why we had this nice change of character to the downside. So if we drop down to M30 so we can refine the supply zone, we can use this one right here. So this right here will be the supply zone that I will be waiting for. So what I'm expecting on gold is for gold to pull back all the way into this supply zone, and then we can drop down to M3 time frame and look for selling opportunities all the way down to that weekly demand zone that we have, right? So just simple like that. So that's it, guys, for the outlook. I hope I made the point clear with this one. So if you guys like the video, I mean, if you guys enjoyed the video, just smash the like button for me. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, guys. So let's just make that happen for your boy right here. Let's hit the like button. Let's subscribe if you're new to the channel. And if you want to join the mentorship, we have the monthly subscription, lifetime, anything you need. So feel free to contact me anytime you want. My contact is in the description box below, and I'm gonna see you guys on the next one. Peace.